Welcome, class, to Lesson 8-7. Today, strong mathematicians can identify and draw parallel and perpendicular figures. You can take out your notebook, your pencil, write down today's date, the name of the lesson, and we'll begin. As we have some of our notes to review, we have a point is x. We know a line says how it's written. It has the arrows on both sides. It means it goes on forever. It has points along the way. We also have line segments, which is endpoints, which is part of a line, labeled by 2 identified points. And we also have today a new note that you can add to your notes, which would be parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines in the same plane that never intersect are parallel. That means line segments and rays that are a part of a parallel line are also parallel. So if you notice closely at our drawing right here inside of this little box, these are the same distance away, so no matter where we look in a line to see if they're parallel, this distance right here is the same distance that they're apart right here, as the same right here. Now notice these lines go on forever. These lines will never cross each other. So that's what the definition of a parallel line is. Two lines in the same plane that are never going to intersect. They're never going to cross. So you can write down what parallel lines is, the definition, and the example to help you out. And the other note to write down today are perpendicular lines. They are lines or line segments or rays are perpendicular if they form right angles. So notice you've got these two rays that are going up, and we see these nice boxes right here that indicate when two lines cross that are perpendicular to each other, they actually form right angles at every spot where they meet. So you can draw down this example as well and write down the definition to help you understand what are parallel and what perpendicular lines are, because that's really the focus of today's lesson. So right now I want you to write down box number 2, the examples. Draw and label a pair of parallel lines. So I'm going to use a ruler, obviously is the best tool, so I have these nice things that can make good lines. So I'm going to go straight across, that's one line. And I'm going to draw another line straight across, and those are parallel to each other. Those are never going to touch each other, but in order to make them a line, I need to make sure that I have some endings. So now I will add some parts. I'll add lines because lines go on forever, which means I got a line right here and a line right there. I can also make sure I give them parts. So I'm going to label this line AB, and I'm going to label this line, I know what you're thinking, CD. Nope, I'm going to live on the edge, YZ. So we know that line AB is parallel. Oh, that looks like too many R's in there. Parallel, 2 L's, there you go, to line YZ. So that would be how you would draw and label a pair of parallel lines. How would you draw a pair of perpendicular lines? Well, I'm going to take this part, make my lines, I'm going to use this feature that I've learned quickly while doing this all. And I'm going to draw a line right here. Now notice, it's like a wobbly line. That's not even a straight line. That's a little weird. That would not make perpendicular with those angles like that. So I'm going to undo that one. And let's see, I'm back to my lines. And how about if I go to the line, and now I go to the lines. Now I can make my line. There you go. Keep it nice and straight. And it doesn't always have to be in center. As long as they cross anywhere that they make right angles, that would be perpendicular. I need to label my lines again. So I'm going to label this one and this one. I'm going to label it FG and PQ. So here we know we have line GF is perpendicular to line PQ. And that's kind of said to be able to draw and label and see, and I can even add these little right angles to really show that these are perpendicular. In case I don't have a straight edge, that's why I always recommend trying to use a ruler or a straight edge to draw nice straight lines. So right now we need to look at these kind of lines right now and think, is each of these lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? So if we think about what we know, and we want to know about that one, we'll start with perpendiculars, probably the easiest, because we know they make right angles. So if I look, the only thing that really is intersecting with each other right now would be this one right here. So this would be perpendicular. So I want you to draw this shape and label it perpendicular. So that way you can have a visual with your label. And now the next thing we look about which one is parallel. So parallel are two lines that never touch each other. Well, I think about this line right over here, this one. And if I think about these lines, these are going to go on forever, but this one's kind of slanted this way, and this one's kind of slanted this way, so that would tell me somewhere below my screen down yonder, they're going to cross. So these would not be perpendicular, they would not be parallel, this would be neither. Because eventually they're going to cross, those rays are going to cross. Now you have some rays over here, these kind of look very similar, but one ray is a little different than the other ray. It looks like these keep that same distance between each other, which means if they keep the same distance, these are parallel. And it looks like if I do this correctly, I take this line out, if I draw this line on and on forever, and I would continue this line on and on forever, it looks like right there they would eventually cross, which means these are not parallel, nor are they perpendicular. So those are 4 examples that you can use to identify either parallel, perpendicular, or neither as lines cross each other. And now here's a map to look at. It said building streets, said a lot of civil engineers and city planners look on building things using parallel and perpendicular for ease of travel and flow. So right now our first question says name 2 streets that are parallel to each other. So if you think about what streets are parallel to each other, well, we could see if you can come up with the ones I pick. There's looks like there are quite a few of them, I think. How about we choose the lines? First off, I'm going to go with parallel Lincoln and Jefferson. Those are 2 streets that will never cross each other as they continue to go straight on the map. We also have another one. We can go the other direction this way. It looks like 2nd Street and 5th Street are parallel to each other. The question would then be, are there more? It said, you betcha. Anytime 2 lines are parallel, there are lots of more streets that would be parallel to each other. You can probably name a few. You might even be asked to name a few when it comes to your turn. Said name 2 streets that are perpendicular to each other. Are there more? So if you kind of look at this one, which ones are perpendicular to each other? Well, we know perpendicular creates a 90-degree angle. So we can go with our first one of Lincoln and 1st Street. Right there where these 2 streets meet, they make right angles. So that would be one of them as well. And we can take this one, we'll go with Washington going this way and 3rd going this way. So right there, it looks like that's another one. Are there more? We see a lot of spots where these places come all over. There are tons of perpendicular and parallel lines in this map. So right now you can draw a big line on your piece of paper. You can write down box 3, now your turn. And I'd like you to do the following skills. I'd like you to draw and label a figure, so a figure would be a shape, with 1 pair of parallel line segments. So I want you to draw a figure or a shape with 1 pair of parallel line segments. Next, I'd like you to draw and label a figure, so another shape, with 1 pair of perpendicular line segments. So remember, what does it mean to have perpendicular line segments? And now what you do is I want you to draw a pair of lines that are parallel, perpendicular, and neither. And next to each of your drawing, explain why each pair of lines is what you labeled it. So when you draw your parallel lines, tell me why is it parallel. When you draw your perpendicular lines, tell me why is it perpendicular. And when you draw the neither set of lines, tell me why it's neither parallel or perpendicular. Look forward to seeing your explanations of these. And also right now it says, box 3, now your turn, says Dell leaves his house and walks west along Lincoln Street. Gigi leaves her house and walks east along Jefferson. What kind of line segments are Lincoln and Jefferson Street? Also the question is, will they ever meet? And then last but not least, the other question to answer using this one is, list directions that would both have to travel in order to meet each other. That might be a clue on the first one. So what directions will they have to travel in order to meet each other? I look forward to seeing your work with using this map skills. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to write them down or share those out. Also, if you have any strategies that you use, make sure you share those as well. And as always, thanks again for another good lesson.